I've never heard of a band referred to as Zesty.
We are definitely zesty, right?
Are you?
We're a little wild.
Okay.
Rock, metal, prog, and everything in between. Welcome to this episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. Don't forget to follow the audio-only Talkin' Rock podcast on all podcast platforms. And now, it's time for today's conversation. Here's Meltdown.
Meltdown here in studio this time around with Lee Jennings from the Funeral Portrait. Of course, a big year for these guys, touring with Five Finger Death Punch, Marilyn Manson. And then as we record this tonight, direct support for the guys from Twisted and Fright, what is it, the Fright Fest?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, Fright Fest. Well, good to see you, man. Good to see you here in the studio.
Hey, I'm just hyped to be here.
You know what's funny? I went down to Nashville a few months ago. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. No, it's the beginning of October. Hello, a few months ago. Anyways, so I'm driving up 75, and I thought of you because I passed one of those Buc-ees.
Oh, Buc-ees.
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 Yeah.
Did you not stop?
You know what's funny? Because everybody asked me that. They're like, why didn't you stop? And I'm like, I probably should have.
Yes. Next time, listen, you literally have to stop. It will change your life.
Now, you kind of had like this Buc-ee's mascot thing with like your green hair. Like, how'd that come about?
Yeah, so, okay. Long story short, I've posted a few times, I like Buc-ee's, right? And the reason why is because being in a touring band, right, you like a few things, right? And the biggest thing that we like are clean bathrooms.
Okay.
Right? Because we don't get to go home to a clean bathroom all the time, right?
Yeah.
And most of our shows, we don't get hotels for because we've got an RV or whatever it is, so we don't need that, right? So, a clean bathroom, and that is number one, the thing that you can always count on with Buc-ee's.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I drove by. I want to say it was in Kentucky. Now, I don't think we have any of those up here, so I don't really understand the fascination. I mean, the clean bathrooms, that's great, but what else does they have?
So the food is great.
Okay.
Right. So, and then they're always open.
It looks huge too, by the way.
It is huge. So they normally have like 200 gas pumps.
Wow.
So you never have to wait in line to get gas.
No kidding.
So, and then it can get a little hectic though. So depending on the time that you go, be careful.
Nice.
So because it could get a little too crazy. So, but there's just something the reason why I love it though is I like a good brand. So I'm a huge brand nerd. So I love something that is branded really well. And a cute little guy, Buc-ee, being branded on a gas station is the coolest thing I could ever see. So I don't know. We started touring about 10 years ago, and the first time I saw one was in Texas because that's where they're from. Because, of course, everything's bigger in Texas, apparently.
Right.
So even their gas stations,
Yeah.
that's like their thing. So I was like, you know what? We're going to stop. We stopped, and I fell in love. And since then, I've posted about it, and some of our fans decided to turn me into Buc-ee. And now we sell the shirts, and we can't keep them.
Have they contacted you about that? Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Not yet. We'll see what happens. You just, it's one of those, you ask for forgiveness.
Right.
Kind of moments.
It sounds like my father years ago told me, it gets sued, it'll be the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yes, exactly. So I will say, though, we did try an April Fool's joke this year on Instagram. I tried to post that you can now find our merch at Buc-ee's, right? I don't know what happened, but we got banned on Instagram for like 2 weeks.
Really?
Because I guess we shared, the Buc-ee's logo, because this was before, I wasn't using our logo, the fake Buc-ee's logo, me as Buc-ee. I used their logo. Apparently they have it copyrighted, right? Now that if you post anything on Instagram that is copyrighted and you do not own it, it will, by their technology, it will instantly like stop you from posting. And we got banned for like 2 weeks, and I was freaking out. I was like, of course, my April Fool's joke backfired on me.
It's so funny. Well, we could sit here and talk about chain gas stations all afternoon, but let's not. But no, it's funny. I just thought about you. I was driving by. I'm like,
next time, you literally have to, and you got to message me. And you'll be like, I get it now.
Okay, all right.
You'll join the cult.
All right, fair enough. So how's things been going for you, man? I was thinking to myself earlier today. Your life has had to have changed a lot since you were here last year.
Insane.
Yeah.
I mean, which is the crazy part is because, last year we played this same festival, but we were the opener.
Right.
Tonight we're the direct support, and it was one of those things that it's like thinking about how much our lives have changed in a year, and even to the moment that we met you earlier this summer,
Yeah.
to now, and now having this song on the Billboard charts and all these crazy, the media-based charts and all this stuff happening for us. And it's like, next year, getting emails for next year already, and we're a year ago, I was begging, being like, what do we have for next year? What do we have for next year? And now I'm looking at our schedule and I'm like, oh, so I'm not going to be home next year. That's good to know.
No, that's great. I saw you guys are already booked for Sonic Temple, which is killer.
Yes. I'm so excited for that one. So
Yeah.
I've seen, the lineup for that, we're playing the day that Linkin Park's playing, and that's crazy. Like the idea of having our band on the same festival as a band like that, I just never thought that would happen, right? And so seeing stuff like that, I'm grateful for. And I think that's something that I wish a lot of bands kind of had to go through, is like the years of grinding. Because there are some bands that they release a song and it blows up and then they never have to do the grind, right? Or an artist or whatever it is, right? And for us, we did basically 10 years of that, right? And now seeing the rewards of our many years of grind, it makes us still humble, I think. I think it makes us still real. And I still do it like every single night. I still go to merch, all these things, even though like we might have some crazy fans out there that, that will be a little bit too much to handle some days. You know what though? I don't care, because I'll still go because I'm grateful for it.
Right. Well, this is what you wanted. Now you have it. So you have to live in that world.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of it too, is, at first I didn't know how to handle it. There was a little bit of moments of just being like, oh my God, I check my DMs. I'll post something and I'll check my DMs and I get like 70 messages. And I'm like, oh, and that's just the messages, not the comments or not all these other things. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Like, how am I supposed to do this? Where I respond to everyone and I carry a conversation on, or I don't just say thank you. I say thank you, or how's your day going too? Stuff like that, because I'm also a huge fan of just like not acting like I'm so important, because I'm just a human. I just get to carry around a microphone. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I feel. And so it's weird sometimes when people act like they're all high and mighty when they're just a human too,
Well, yeah, it's right. It's like, social media nowadays, and I find it with myself, it's almost like a second job, And you want to listen, you want to touch people. And always remember this, because Lizzie Hale told me this years ago, and a truer statement I've yet to hear. But she told me that Ronnie James Dio told her one time that you may not remember the names of the faces, but they'll always remember meeting you, so be nice to everybody. And it's like, I've always remembered that.
No, and that's the truth, and I think for me, I try and give every single person the time of day.
Sure.
Right? Like I'm here because of them. You know what I mean? Like they always thank us for coming to their city or whatever, especially like we just did these 2 Canadian shows, right? And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of tours that really don't go up there.
What cities?
We did Toronto and Ottawa.
Oh, yeah. Well, those are pretty big cities in Canada.
They
sure,
are.
yeah.
But with those, they were both like, we still don't get enough, right, of the bands that we love and stuff. And so they were thanking us for coming there. And I'm like, no. I thank you for showing up. Like, I'm going to be here.
Right.
Like, I have to be here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They don't have to be.
They don't have to be. And I think people, again, forget that, right? And that, again, that's why I still go to merch every single night and talk to everybody that I can, do a free meet and greet, because, like, again, I think that's another world that, yeah, I know money's tough, and I know having to pay to meet someone at a certain level is important, because, like, again, bring up Lizzie Hale. Lizzie Hale can't go to merch, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's just not going to happen, right? She's not going to meet 3,000, 10,000 people every night, right? That's not going to happen. With us, it's, meeting 300 people or 500 people or whatever it is, 200 people. I can deal with that, right? Every night. Eventually, if it gets a little bit too crazy, maybe I won't, but I'll try somewhat, And again, growing up, I remember going in Atlanta. We have a place called the Tabernacle, and I knew exactly where the buses were parked, and I knew exactly where the barricades for those buses would be. So as soon as they get off stage, I run outside, go right to the barricade, because every single time those bands, they would come up and they'd say hi, hello, sign something, take a photo, and then leave. I don't see that nowadays anymore.
So who were some great experiences that you had with back when you were a kid?
Oh, wow. I think there's two really big ones that kind of changed everything for me. And it's so super funny because they were both the same tour names, but different years. So it was the Nintendo Fusion Tour, okay? And it was Evanescence. That was my first show I ever really went to. It was at the Tabernacle. And Evanescence, they were the headlining band. I think Cold was also on the show. I don't remember. I was a huge Nintendo nerd, and this is how I got into music. I was a huge Nintendo nerd, and in my Nintendo Power magazine, there was an ad for the Nintendo Fusion Tour with Evanescence, and then down at the bottom it said, come play new games before they're released. And I said, I want to go play those games. I don't care about the rock show, because I didn't know music at the time, right? And I was like, oh my God. So I begged my mom, so we went, right? But beforehand, we checked out Evanescence, right? And I was like, I loved her because I loved Amy Lee because of her voice. Because at the time, I was doing nothing but chorus and stuff like that. I wasn't into rock music, you know, really. And so I was like, oh, she has such a unique voice for rock music. So I went, and I remember going to play video games. And then I went upstairs at the Tabernacle because there was kind of 2 levels. And I saw Evanescence play, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. You know, and that was one of those moments. And then outside, I got to see her. I didn't really get to meet her, kind of a wave, but she was there. There was too many people.
Yeah.
Especially for me being I was 13 at the time. So it was one of those moments. But then the next year, the same tour came around, and I got into music a little bit that year, but nothing too crazy. The next tour came around, and it was Nintendo Fusion Tour, and it was My Chemical Romance.
Oh, okay.
And they weren't even the headliner. I think Story of the Year was the headliner, but at that time, My Chem was blowing up. You know, and I just remember going out to that barricade as soon as they were done, and I just waited and waited, and guess what? Here comes My Chemical Romance out to the barricade, and I got to meet them, and that was again, I want to do that,
right?
You know, and those are the moments that I know that if I felt that way, I'm sure there's a bunch of other kids currently that maybe will feel that way, meeting me or meeting their other favorite artist or meeting someone else in the band or whatever it is, you know, and that's the most important thing to me, you know, is helping. Almost I talk about the passing of the torch is very important, and it's something that rock music needs to be more dedicated to. Be less of a competition and more of us carrying this torch together and passing it to the right bands at the right moments. And I will agree that I think, you know, and I give a huge applaud to Five Finger Death Punch for taking us out on that last tour and kind of giving us that torch, you know, of being taking a chance on a small band. They didn't need us on that tour. We didn't do anything to that tour. Maybe sell an extra 10 tickets a night or something. You know what I mean? They were gonna sell out those places anyways, right? You know, so it was super cool for them to bring out a band that nobody has really heard before and give us a 20-minute opening slot, an hour and a half after doors too. So we're playing to these packed rooms, and they didn't have to do that. But I think they're starting to realize that these younger bands need a shot, you know, there's nothing's gonna be left. You know, it's all gonna be gone.
Well, you know, you got your fans out there, people that love you, they come and see you. You know, you made fans of the Five Finger Death Punch tour. And then you got fans that say you're zesty AF.
Oh, Lord. Oh, the zestiness.
So the zestiness. So somebody left a comment about one of your shows.
So, okay, it was the Five Finger Tour.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, so I don't remember what the show was he talked about. I don't remember what it was, but he said...
You were talking about the guy that made his comment.
Yes, that left this comment. His name's Anthony something. I blocked out his last name.
Okay.
I know him. I've seen him. I wonder if Anthony knows that this whole thing is now because of him.
Yeah.
But, I guess long story short, I'm checking Facebook comments because I like to respond to them. I like to see what's going on. And this one guy, we didn't really get a lot of negativity from the tour, which I was surprised from comments on Facebook. And I checked this, and he's like, you know, oh, you know, I went to this show and the funeral portrait sucked. You know, the singer was it was something like the tall green man was on stage looking all zesty AF, you know, twirling around on stage. They sucked. You know, at the very end it said they sucked or something like that too. So I posted that comment on Facebook and on like Instagram, everywhere, all of our socials, blacked out the guy's name. And I said, the reviews are in. We're Zesty AF, come to a show, come to a devotion ceremony, what we call our shows. And I listed all the tour dates, and it kind of went a little viral. It went super viral in our world, right? Of the funeral portrait. And oh my God, so many people started commenting, oh my God, you guys are Zesty AF, all this stuff. And so the next day I was like, it was during the hurricanes that had just swept through like North Carolina or that whole area really did a lot of damage. And the second one was coming through Florida, literally at that time. And I was like, I would love to, because every year we do kind of like a charity shirt or song or anything. We do at least one thing a year that helps a charity. And so I was like, we haven't done anything this year. Let's make a shirt with that guy's comment on it. And post it for charity, right? And I posted it, and we went live that day, and I think we've raised over, I think it was close to $13,000 for charity for hurricane victims.
No kidding.
And I was surprised. Yeah. I mean, I was really surprised. So, because I didn't expect that but I think there's two things there. One, people like the story of it, but two, I think people want to give back. People want to help, and they're getting something in return. It's not like they're just donating, right?
Well, it is funny because in the 35 years I've been in this business, I've never heard of a band referred to as Zesty. So that was kind of different. I mean, seriously.
And, I know, we are dedefinitely zesty, right?
Are you?
We're a little wild.
Okay.
We're a little wild on stage. We do a little bit of our funness. We are a little wild, right? So, and I think they also see guys with makeup and, dyed hair and stuff like that, and they might think, whatever it is, especially opening maybe for Five Finger Death Punch or something like that. But, I don't know, that's what makes us us, But that's also why people, I think, like us, is that, we are different, especially for the rock world.
Right.
I think it is time for rock music to have a little zest, I'm being honest. I think there is now, if there is a time that a band like us could exist in the rock world and be, quote, successful, I think it's now, and that's why I'm kind of glad that it did take us 10 years to get here. Because I don't think we were ready. I also don't think the rock world was ready, and I don't think most people would have understood what we were doing then 10 years ago, where now, I think we've kind of found this outcast of groups of people, and it's cool. We're selling this shirt right now that has Stay Weird on it. It just literally says Stay Weird, has our logo on it, right? And that's one of the songs from our record. It's the more ballady song, and on our headlining shows, we've been playing it, and people are crying to it. We had people propose. We had people propose, during one of our shows during Stay Weird, and it's like, it's now turned into this anthem, And again, I don't think if we would have done that 10 years ago, it would have hit the same way,
So you dropped record Suffocate City back on September 13th.
Yep.
Obviously a monumental step in your guys' progression. What is it like dropping a record like that? That, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have had these songs kicking around for years.
Yes.
So what was it like when it dropped?
Oh, it was kind of funny. The moment it dropped, we were actually in a bar in outside of Boston. We were at the Silver Scream Con. Spencer from My Son Kills. He has that con, right? So George, our manager, right, who we're very connected with him and a lot of things, like the thing that we're doing tonight. Right. He runs that as well. And it's one of those things, he got us added to that to play an acoustic set, right? And they oversold hotels at where the convention was being held. And we go to check in because it's under my name and it was supposed to be 2 rooms. I go to check in. They're like, oh, so we have 1 room. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's 8 of us. And so we go look in, and a floor, we've slept on floors before, right? This hotel room was smaller than this room, okay? Had 2 beds, right? No sofa, hardwood floors, nothing. Just a TV and 2 beds, really. It was like a little pod.
Yeah.
In a little bathroom. And I'm just like, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, we can't sleep 8 people in 2 beds.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how much we try, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not sleeping on a hardwood floor. So we're sitting, we walk outside. Our record's about to be released to the world. And we're all like down in the dumps, like, oh man, what are we going to do? We're all exhausted. So we had flown off the Five Finger Death Punch tour to do this convention and then fly right back to it. And we're just like, I don't know. So we're sitting at this bar all disappointed. And then my alarm goes off that it's midnight. And I'm like, yay, the record's out, and eventually George calls. He's got another room. They found one more open somewhere else. So they moved some of us over to there. That was great. It was just that funny moment of us waiting for, like you said, like 5 years to release a record, and it's finally here, and we're spending it kind of disappointed at a bar because we're exhausted, and it
just how you had imagined it.
Exactly, like that was so funny because we were like, oh my God, we've waited so long for this moment, and and now we're sitting in a bar outside of Boston, depressed, being like, oh no, how are we gonna sleep? We're so tired.
No, that's great, man. Well, congratulations on your success, dude. The record's killer. And it's just it's so much fun. And like we were talking about when I was walking up here with you, I will forever be connected with the band after we had a paranormal experience. At least we think we did. We're not exactly sure, but I don't know what was going on.
No, think we did.
So you're telling me right now, as we stand here,
there's no way. What else would it have been?
No, I'm just saying it wasn't one of your buddies, someone in the band.
No. Because I've talked to them multiple times about it.
Yeah.
Because as you know, they like to have fun, and because they,
right.
they jumped and scared us and a
yeah,
little bit.
Yeah, that's right,
you remember that moment?
That was
fun.
Yeah.
That was funny. But no, if you remember, everybody at that moment was counted for because they were either with the other group or they were with us.
Right.
So.
And there was, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say somebody from Eloise was actually out in the hallway at that point, or they were close to the door or something like that. But
they
were.
They were out in the hallway, and it didn't come from the hallway. That was the weird part. It came from like a completely different part, and then the idea that the other group didn't hear it, which is even crazier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've played it for several of my friends in the paranormal world and different people. I posted on paranormal websites, and nobody's been able to like pinpoint it as to what those noises were. We heard like screams in the distance, and of course I grabbed you right away because I thought somebody was screwing with us,
dude. Yeah, well, that's what it felt like, that, But if you remember, we were messing with those tools, right?
The lobotomy tools,
lobotomy tools, and I just remember us being like, no way, dude. We were just all like freaking out. Like I could not believe that
was insane.
That was weird.
So I had been in that place twice before you guys. And it's like, look, I was talking with someone about this the other day. When they bring out the all the instruments and some of the stuff, it's like, I'm a little skeptical about that.
Yep.
When you hear something that comes from,
that was the whole thing too. Is because I don't know. I wouldn't believe it either, right?
But you saw like the flashlights going on and off and stuff like that.
Like that. I'm like, okay. There's a lot of things that scientifically can make stuff like that. Same with radios and stuff like that. There's so many, especially like our in-ear wireless units will pick up radio stations or what sound like hauntings from the dead, or whatever it is, and it's like sometimes, depending on what city you're in, especially in Detroit, there's a lot of radio towers around here. So it's like, I don't know. I was just one of those moments of being like, okay, I believe. Like, I believe this is real.
That was nuts. So, anyways, I'll actually include that in the description of this interview. But, hey, man, have fun tonight with the guys from Twisted. Love those guys and George and everybody. And continued success. And we'll see you next time you're here in the Motor City.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been incredible.